Hi, I'm Bryce.
And I'm Jimmy.
We are telecom and creative professionals. We're also fans of podcasting as our respective careers give us an abundance of windshield time.
While there is a podcast for just about any obscure topic you can think of, there was no regular podcast pertaining to Montana politics.
And that is why, with our combined powers, we are Montana Voices Podcast.
We strive to be an independent voice for all issues pertaining to Montanans and Montana politics.
We also strive to be very forthcoming with our personal biases as we attempt to see beyond them.
Montana Voices Podcast does not operate in a vacuum. We need your support, whether that be listening to our cast, providing us feedback, sending us conversation topics, sharing our content, or providing financial support.
We look forward to a long career in podcasting with your added assistance.
Well, welcome to Montana Voices Podcast, episode 30. We're getting up there, and it's great to have the band back together.
It is. It's been a bit. Been a hot minute.
Yeah, well, life kept us away from the microphone for a bit, but we had some content out there on our social medias, and of course our reboot cast. I think it was last week at this point.
Yeah, big props to Beth for coming on to the show there to get it done there. I was supposed to be on with that one as well, but I completely forgot that we were casting. Things have been really chaotic in all aspects for us here lately, so we're trying to get back into it here. I'd say this is probably my biggest New Year's resolution currently is to continue keeping consistent on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Here as well, said other life things in the Christmas season, it gets busy, and in local politics has not been that busy anyway, so we'd probably just be shooting the breeze anyway. But let's go ahead.
And, especially after that last election, things kind of settled down, and everyone's just kind of sitting back and waiting until everyone can get into office and start shaking things up again. So anyways, yeah, you were saying back to business here.
Back to business.
You can always catch our podcast, every episode streaming at montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like to hit us up for any kind of questions, concerns, comments, if you'd like to be on the show, you can email us at montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter feed is available at Montana_voices. Our Facebook is available using at Montana Voices Podcast. You can find all of our episodes on YouTube by searching for Montana Voices Podcast.
And we are quite literally everywhere, and also free as in freedom, open source on our back end and most of our front end right now.
Indeed. True. I'd like to go ahead and flex that. Right now I'm streaming to you all currently from open source Linux operating systems. So it's good to finally get away from Windows and the chains of oppression that capitalism has brought to us here.
You mean wind blows, just so we're correct on semantics here.
Exactly. That's the one.
Well, let's run through our old issues, stuff we talked about last cast that you weren't here, but Danes and Tester have been getting along and are more alike every day, it feels like. There is
Ooh, man, which big bank bought into both of those guys?
Yeah, that's a good point. We got to track down the money. Of course, it's dark money, as they say, or not so dark. That Citizens United,
Yeah. Is Tester a member yet?
No. Oh, absolutely. He's definitely a citizen and benefits from it greatly. But
well, yeah, they're all united.
Well, you can't, even as a candidate, even if you say you're not going to accept dark money, it's there regardless. And if somebody likes you, they're going to do advertisements for your ideas and try to cast your opponent in a bad light. I think where the line sort of gets drawn is when you advocate for a specific candidate. So say, whoever's a piece of crap, but you can't say this guy smells like roses.
Correct. And then on top of that, I think where that dark money ends up at, I can see it not being traced back to them if the people are paying out for their own political ads. But if this is hitting a bank account under your name, then yeah, that's kind of dark money.
Well, it's not. I'm not sure if you've seen the Dark Money documentary, which I have. It's by those people that we don't talk about here. They made a documentary. It's actually really good.
I'll bet they did.
Yeah, probably had to take the foam out into the field for that. But we moving on, we got Blackfoot Language Revival. We talked about how a app has been written by a member of the Blackfoot community to teach people the Blackfoot language, currently only available on iOS, unfortunately. But hopefully our cries will be heard and somebody who's qualified will rewrite it for a more open platform.
That is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm hoping that such a great tool could be become available to the open source community because that could be a really great tool if given out to more people. Uh, that's a language you don't want to see. You don't want to see any languages die, but that one's one, I guess, closer to the current times that we could see go away and not come back. You know.
I mean, look at all the efforts we've made to keep, say, Latin relevant today. We're still naming things after Latin verbs or whatever. So why can't we extend that same thing to a native language to keep some of those remnants there?
I feel like it's the least we could do.
Literally the least after we spent a couple hundred years trying to kill it, but literally the least.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we don't even have it on the docket here, but all the current stuff going on with the Catholic Church fostering their naughty priests in and out of the reservations, all overlooked there for the longest time and stuff, just now coming to light.
Well, not on this docket, but it was on a previous docket. We'll toot our own horn here because that I think we had a few episodes where we covered that in pretty great detail.
Yeah, we've been pretty vocal about it in the past, I believe. Yeah, so thoughts on that still haven't changed. Still stand where we do on that.
Well, I've yet to get a cease and desist letter from the Catholic Church. We'll wait for the day.
Come at me, Pope. Anyways, next thing here, looks like you guys had an e-cig ban in force. Didn't they let up on that since then? There was a bunch of outrage, and Bullock doesn't like it when people get mad at him.
Yeah, talk about a spine. No, I believe it's still in effect as of today. There's been talk of it being removed, and I had long suspected that this will not hold up because that is a right reserved for the federal government. We have a whole, the Food and Drug Administration for that. They handle that, right?
Yeah.
Or is that or ATF's the enforcement, but Food and Drug is the.
I think it's ATF, FDA though, because it's like a glycerin gel thing that they do for the actual vape juice. It's weird. It's one of those things that's in limbo, so there's going to be zero laws on it, but we're going to keep just scratching our heads about it. Wow. Talk about a cluster.
Well, as I pointed out in the last cast, I'm looking at the ulterior motives here, and I'm maybe getting a bit conspiratorial when I suggest that, this ban isn't meant to last, and it will fail when it's challenged, which it already is being challenged. And, the companies that are going to go under because of this are all going to be the very small businesses that, a mom and pop shop that sells flavored vape. And the only thing that's going to survive is the Juul cartridges, I think it was, the Marlboro of the vaping world that I understand isn't very good.
Until Marlboro makes their own, of course. And then, who knows, maybe DuPont could toss their hat in the game.
An organization you can trust for sure.
Yeah, just a company that's been around. A brand that one that your grandparents used,
Exactly.
Like Joe Camel.
We could bring him back. If it's non-tobacco vape, you're not allowed to market it to under 21-year-olds now. I believe the cigarettes, that's on the docket here. Cigarettes and vape, 21 and below is a no-go.
Wild.
Yeah, that sort of came out of left field. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I remember back in the day thinking geez, well, why don't they have that one be 21 like alcohol if it's such a big deal? And then to see it happen now, though, it's just very surreal of why did they do that? There was no need.
Yeah, did the tobacco lobby money run out, or?
I just say the check must have bounced or something, and they're just, I'll bet, I'm wondering if there was some backdoor negotiations that went south, and the guys on the federal side are just like, well, you don't think we're serious here, do you? And they threw out the ban hammer at it, and they're like, just you watch. We'll take it all away next.
Well, they can try. From my cold, dead hands, I don't smoke, but now I'm also over 21, so it wouldn't really make a difference. But there's a big black market to be served here.
The desire is pretty much gone there once you're old enough to do it. And I just this must really suck for those kids ages 19 and 20 right now. The ones who've just developed and develop that need to go outside for their cigarette break, every 2 hours at work or whatever.
Yeah, taking away smoking from the workplace has been the biggest blow to workplace productivity, in quite a long time. Yeah,
Apparently.
we'll have to bring it back. But yeah, it's a good point. I mean, 21, I guess we have to decide when an adult is an adult. And of course, I'm looking at unequal enforcement because I imagine this will be treated differently if you pull over a Cambridge College kid rather than a minority. I think the willingness to charge somebody with an MIPT, that's a minor in possession of tobacco, could sway a little bit. You don't want to ruin a good kid's life.
It's going to be strange to see this enforced in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're old enough to sign away your life to your country, but you can't smoke while you're dying.
Do you get a pass if you just watched your friend get shot in the face? Or do you still no, hold up there. Give me them snooze packets there.
I would assume there would be also a great discrepancy in how it's enforced in the military. I imagine, or I would think that most people in command over there wouldn't care. But
no, not at all. And you're going to see that attitude spill back over here, I think. And I don't know that. Well, I mean, I'm sure this will probably take effect and then stay in. But I already think if they want to keep this going and keep it a thing, they're going to have to probably raise that age on the military then too.
That's not what we want to do. In fact, we want to get them younger.
Yeah. See, that's just it's a weird mentality to tell people one thing, but then praise the other.
Exactly. And I think the military, or at least I was when I first signed up, you can sign as early as 16 or maybe 15 for the delayed entry program. Basically go through training light with them. And the day you turn 18, you're, I guess, ready to go to boot camp.
Yeah, they'll do whatever it takes there to get their information ahead of time, and they'll be ready.
Yep,
they'll be ready to take you.
But you can't smoke.
No, well, not anymore.
Moving on to the next issue we discussed, Missoula holding us back with LED lights. Northwestern Energy is looking to update from, I think it's high pressure sodium is the old standard, that kind of orangish green color tint, to a LED light, but Missoula is concerned that this could cause light pollution.
I see. Well, it is quite the organic crowd over there, so I imagine that they would probably be upset if they couldn't do their stargazing, and these lights are significantly brighter when they're LEDs. So,
well, I'm sure they could be adjusted properly or turned down.
Potentially. But I mean, at the same time, you don't see a lot of places that just shut off street lights at night.
No, except Missoula, and I guess we're probably the exception because Missoula is overcast 2/3 of the year, so stargazing in the valley isn't a thing.
Well, yeah, I guess you guys really are a horrible place to do stargazing, given that you are in that valley. I forget about that.
Yeah, we hold in all that beautiful cloud cover and pollution
and weed smoke.
Yeah, I've walked outside of my house sometimes, and it's like, this smells like a dispensary. What is going on out here? I live in a nice neighborhood.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, Hawthorne's definitely, not even weedy.
Yeah, it's... So. Well, the times are changing, so...
The riffraff's moving in. Yeah, on to things here. The other thing we didn't get to, I don't see it listed here at all. Did we talk about Bullock at all?
No, not too much other than the e-cig ban.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but that's the elephant, it's the elephant in the room that we have to bring up here. Bullock, he's out.
Yeah.
He quit the race. Why? Why'd you...
Quit the race. Nobody thought he would win. Since day one.
I think he said that Reagan was a late contender, the last one to enter when he won. And he's like, just you watch, everybody. Just like Reagan, I could pull this off.
No, he started way too... the timing just didn't even make sense. Maybe if he, announced before, Warren and Bernie, I think the only person that can pull off that late contender would be Biden, because he was one of the last ones, or last populous ones, because there's a few other people that have tossed their hat in the ring, which at this point you have to ask why, but...
Can you imagine, though, if, like, Hillary went in for that at the last second? Like, I'm going.
Oh, geez. Well, it's Trump 2020, so... I say that unironically because we saw how that worked out last time.
Jeez, yeah, I'm just looking at Steve Bullock's website. He's removed basically anything that says "vote for me for president."
Well, I mean, they probably had it prepped beforehand, and and system admin had to do one click and reverted back as if it never happened.
It's in the he lost file.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing that because it's gone. Bullock had a campaign office in Helena, of course, but it was a pretty big place that was packed with a lot of people. And I heard the announcement, and then other business led me to the area, and then it's deserted. Like nothing ever happened.
Like they cleared out?
Yeah, it cleared out.
Wild. Because like I want to say, I looked at this website like probably a good 2 months ago. It was at least 2 months before he made his announcement. And there was an opening for like a marketing manager or something. And I was like, geez.
That's a bad... Who's going to take that job?
Who's going to take that job,
I worked for Steve Bullock for 3 days.
Can you imagine that? What do you mean you're calling it? And like, that immediately becomes your job of like trying to prop him back up and like, we can stay in this, Steve. Just get us through to tax return time.
Well, they didn't find that golden media manager, so Bullock had to drop out to no one's surprise. And I still don't understand why he's not looking at the Montana Senate, which would be a good spot for him. And a lot of people are disappointed in that still.
Yeah, it'd be nice if like anyone from the Democratic side would look at that Senate seat, because it's going to end up down to the last second, and they're all going to be like, "Oh shit, yeah, that's right. We got to send somebody up to run for that, don't we?"
Oh, is that this month?
Someone's gonna be like, well, that Rob Quist guy, I liked his music, and like, yeah, I liked his stuff. And
yeah, we'll bring back Amanda
we
Curtis
end up
or
voting
something
for him, and then it ends up being a huge misunderstanding because we all thought we weren't going to hear him play a song, but now he's running for the Senate.
He did play songs. I heard him play at Giant Springs. I think
he did. He was an amazing songwriter and musician.
I think a lot of his campaign events were just that. He just went up with a guitar.
Exactly, but that's also why, like, Ted Nugent was never governor.
I think Ted wasn't governor for a number of other reasons too. Being batshit crazy, I think, is one of them. But
yeah, probably the main one.
Good old cat scratch grandpa. Yeah, but news that everybody, I think, is excited about, and since everybody's agreed on this, kind of makes me question why it took so long for the Little Shell to be a federally recognized tribe.
It's about damn time. Congratulations, Little Shell Tribe. Very proud. Very excited. Very happy.
As am I. About 5,000 members that they count internally now.
That's awesome.
I
didn't know they had that many. I thought it was like 1,000 or something.
No, 5,000, which is interesting because you look a little bit north of Great Falls, that region. I guess they're... I don't even know. I mean, they don't have any land, so they're somewhat Great Falls.
Are they going to get a reservation now? They should.
Yeah, some 800 acres, if I recall right.
Nice. Where's that going to be? Is it Black Eagle? Are they going to make Black Eagle the reservation? They should.
They should. Black Eagle is a land of freedom, and
I really hope the sovereign nation of Black Eagle. Let's do it. Ooh.
Oh, does that include the refinery? That's
I don't know. Oh man, it becomes tribal business.
Well, I doubt it'll be land of any value or interest, as is typical for reservations. Of course, there's a few exceptions to that, namely the Salish over here in Polson. They got that lake area, which is a beautiful place.
Yeah, they got that dam money.
Well, that's interesting. We also talked about the dam in the last episode, and I have failed to look into what the finances might be on that. Is it making money? Is it breaking even? I sure hope so.
Well, I don't know, actually, because I thought that they owned it, but then...
They do.
Okay, because Northwestern Energy I thought bought all the dams in the state, but I guess that was just all the ones that weren't controlled by the tribe.
Yeah, but I'm not sure who's running it. They may be contracting Northwestern to run it. That I couldn't tell you for sure. I'd have to look that up. Because running a dam is a pretty niche business that, not a whole lot of organizations know how to do. And I can just imagine the tribe is like, we need to run a dam now.
Yeah.
Didn't really expect to get this far, but
They keep that how-to playlist on YouTube set to private, I think. So,
Yeah,
some coveted material that they go over. But there is a couple Modern Marvel episodes you can watch on dams that'll get you started.
oh, good. You can get the basics out of the way, or your
Yeah.
dam operations 101.
Figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so maybe I'll make a note to look at that, research that for a future cast. Whom exactly is running the dam on contract, and how is the financial situation? I mean, it's been a decade or so they're still running a dam. That's good.
Yeah.
We have.
I wish that we'd see some more wind business kick up in like the Browning area, because that's one thing they have a lot of is with the wind.
Which makes me wonder: are they looking for gusty wind or consistent wind?
Oh yeah, good point.
Because we get Browning crazy windy, like too windy to drive at times. And
Yeah, but it's like consistent though with like massive gusts.
because I wonder if a massive gust or an extreme windstorm puts undue pressure on these things and shortens their life, and maybe we'll have to have a wind expert on.
Maybe. Well, you need to have a bird expert.
Well, they go hand in hand, really.
Absolutely. I was going to say maybe that's why they don't have it there, is because with it being right next to the mountains and then the Glacier National Park there and stuff, it could be bird pathway.
Yep, and they actually shut the wind farms down if they see specific species, and they have people on payroll whose only job is to look for birds. Which is crazy that a single bird can shut the entire thing down.
Jeez, wild.
Yeah, well, we'll get a, what do you call the bird people? Ornithologists or...
Ornithologist or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. So, all right, anyway, back to the 5,000 members or so. Those numbers will likely be increasing as they are now a federally recognized tribe, because before there was no real reason other than, community to be enrolled in your tribe. And I imagine this will bring a lot of little shell people out of the woodwork and looking for tribal enrollment. So those numbers are bound to increase.
Absolutely. Well, they deserve it, so they should get on up there.
And just for comparison, go a little bit north and talk about the Chippewa Cree Reservation. There's about 8,000 members of that. I think right outside of Havre. So, yeah, 8,000 members there versus 5,000, and likely an increase that 5,000. So what in the crap took so long? But we'll move on to Bitcoin, because there's always something exciting in Bitcoin.
That there is.
Yeah,
Oh, man, and this one is no exception to that at all.
Yeah, Butte's mining business is once again in jeopardy. The mining business over in Butte, where it's sort of been, Butte has been an attraction for that. I mean, they have very good power infrastructure. Northwestern Energy is right there, and very low wages, low property values, and they are least likely to oppose questionable businesses. Unlike Missoula, which currently has a crypto mining ban, you cannot start a new crypto mining business in Missoula, nor increase your capacity if you're a current crypto mining business. So,
do you guys have any current crypto mining there?
yeah, just the one outside of Bonner in Milltown, which is still running strong, it looks like.
I see. So they can't add like even one miner to that thing then, basically.
Well, I don't know how Missoula County would enforce that, but they're told not to.
They probably have, I'll bet you what happened is when it kicked, they probably went out and like hard set the meter for their power.
That's it.
And like if you go over this at all, you're done.
Just shut it all down. But yeah, so that's, no new business in Missoula. We're against that. Noise pollution and power consumption is the thing, which is weird because we talked about LED lights a moment ago, which offer a significant savings over the old-fashioned ones, which we are against.
Well, that's the thing is like what you're and that's the thing, I guess, too, with Missoula is that they will go above and beyond to, you know, help the injustice in the world as long as it doesn't affect them in their daily lives
Yeah,
and
what do they care about
inconvenience them in
Bitcoin?
some way, you know?
Well, isn't that like any of these issues? I mean,
Well, the thing is, though, with this is that if mining operations start setting up shop because the power is cheap, then all of a sudden the power is not as cheap. And that's what everyone got pissed off about is because they saw them coming in. They saw they needed, like an entire substation built for them, and then saw the power draw coming off of it, and were like, "Whoa, what?" And Northwestern, I believe, came out and said, "Yeah, it's kind of going to affect everybody else's rates next year because, like, I mean, that's just how we do averages for billing. Is like we just look at general consumption and like we have to bring it in more."
well,
Regardless. And so, like, as a result, everybody starts paying out more.
Northwestern Energy would like to tell us that, but they are, of course, regulated by the PSC. Use the term regulated in quotation marks because, as we discussed in the previous cast, the chairman, the guy from Colstrip, went in a different podcast and was telling people how the PSC's job is not to represent consumers,
What's their job?
to regulate the monopoly. But while not representing the consumers, because there's a separate agency for that, which nobody has ever heard of, including us.
I
So
feel
the
like I should-
PSC is, well, you don't even vote for these people. Wait, you do vote for these people, right?
You vote for, yeah, each of your county commissioners.
No, you vote directly for the PSC in the general.
Oh.
I recall voting for the last good member of the PSC, who is now on the greener pasture, so to speak. Hopefully there's no
Indeed.
coal over there, but
He's a good kid. I say that because he was like your age, basically, right?
yeah, we worked closely together on the Great Falls High newspaper.
There you go.
Decades ago.
No, he, anytime I saw him in the newspaper or in like the KRTV website posts or videos, he always seemed like he was always going to bat for the people, you know?
I think he was the last person on the PSC that actually was, which is why, as we discussed in a previous cast, Northwestern Energy took particular exception to him and fired up their blog just to try to sling some dirt at him.
Wasn't he also the youngest member?
Yeah, I think the youngest member, but you couldn't tell because he came out of high school with male pattern baldness, so he looked like he was 35, right at a ripe 17 years old.
Oh, that is terrible to hear.
Which means he was meant for this job. So, yeah, the PSC is not to represent consumers, which is news to most consumers that vote for PSC representatives. Odd that is their name, representative on the PSC. So, it should not directly affect rates. The commercial rates of actual three-phase power doesn't quite have the direct correlation to residential rates as you would think. They're billed somewhat differently, not just on usage, but on power factor, basically how efficiently they use that power and how balanced their three phases are. So that's a bit different, but not completely isolated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. I will take your word for it on that one.
But I don't know enough about it to tell you if we're looking at an efficiency of scale. Because if you... I mean,
my brother's the electrician in the family. I only deal with low voltage myself.
me is actually no voltage at all, light.
Yeah. So none of this nonsense. Let's get on to the next topic here. Maybe something more in our wheelhouse here. Feral pigs, and on top of that, or no, I read that wrong. Jeez. Asian giant hornets. Oh, that sounds even worse than feral pigs.
I think it is worse, unless they're going to handle the feral pig problem.
Well, that wouldn't be so bad, I guess, but then just have a bunch of pig corpses filled with giant hornets, and that doesn't sound great.
No, none of this does. And like I've said this before, we're building the wall on the wrong border. We need to worry about these illegal aliens crashing our borders with no regard for our laws or our way of life.
Yeah,
that being the pigs and the wasps.
Dome here too, potentially, because like there's those hornets, I imagine, can fly over the wall pretty easily. So
Just got
we
10
want to,
feet taller, Bryce.
yeah, it's true. We got to make it a little bit taller there. How high can a hornet fly? We should look into that.
Yeah, research for the future cast, but they have been spotted in Canada, which is a problem for Canada, and for us. I've yet to see the feral pigs, though. They might still be coming down south to wreak havoc on our crops, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, that'll be something if those things show up.
And I don't even know how you handle wasps. It seems like they're a pretty hardy creature.
I mean, the normal wasp is usually when I see what I won't mess with it until I can find the wasp spray. But with these things, I mean, these wasps from the pictures in this thing, let me pull that up here.
It's about the size of the tip of your pinky, it looks like, so a pretty big thing.
No, that's not his pinky. That's his index finger.
Oh, geez. Well, that's even worse.
Yeah. So like that is not. Oh, yeah. So it takes up basically from his is that your foreknuckle? You would call that joint on your finger
I believe
down, basically the entire first two portions of his finger, of his index finger.
Well, this is absolutely terrifying, Bryce. I mean, I was sort of looking forward to feral pigs. Maybe it could be open season on those. That seems like it would be fun.
It would be fun to shoot some, you know. These though, just no, thank you, because you can't. They're too small to shoot at.
Yeah, your weapons are useless against them.
They're This is the same concern with drones now, you know.
Well, a weapon would work on those. A shotgun, I think, could take a drone down.
Yeah, and at least it's controlled by a human entity in some point. This thing, there's no control. This is nature having its way with you.
Well, not natural nature. I mean, these are Asian giant hornets from Asia, not native to this land. So this is us interfering with nature.
Yeah, who put that thing back where it came from, so help me.
Hey, I wonder if it's going to be like the frogs in Australia.
Oh, jeez.
But we will see if that actually comes to fruition, because I recall even when I was a kid, we were fearful of killer bees. I mean, it says killer in the name, coming more west, but we've yet to really see that happen.
Yeah, I remember seeing stuff like on the Discovery Channel about African bees and how like they were going to kill us. And then after that, you know, you'd see it was a really old movie, but I remember around the same time they'd show like a rerun of the old movie The Swarm.
Oh, geez. I vaguely remember it, yes.
Yeah, so for those of you listening that don't know, The Swarm is basically like The Birds, but it was just about like a bunch of bees that kill everybody instead. And like when they would sting people, they would have these crazy they would hallucinate a massive bee in front of their face. Horrific effects.
Is that 80s thrasher horror movies at its best?
Let me look it up here because it might have even been like a 70s film. I thought it was.
Getting way back. So, yeah, we've yet to see the bees.
78.
78.
So,
I mean, bees should know better than to try to invade Montana in winter. I mean, that's got to stop them every year, I think.
Oh, wow. Michael Caine was in this.
Huh. So the Swarm, it's going to be a reality for us Montanans if these things fly south.
Yeah, so be cautious, everyone. Keep your bee spray near you.
So we've spent some time talking about Missoula's Open Places, Open Spaces campaign thing, and it looks like Great Falls is working on some improvements of their own. So River's Edge Trail is getting a facelift.
Yep, I don't know if you heard about this, but a change is coming to Great Falls.
I heard this was planned before the change. So was it $247 million or what's the number there, Bryce?
Listen, change is coming.
$237,000 for repairs to the River's Edge Trail.
That's a lot, but looking at these pictures like this, whoa, dude! Like this second picture down, there's no trail left. Like this is just. It looks like it just fell off the side.
Yes, that is. Well, it's right on the riverbank. It is called the River's Edge Trail. And
I guess, yeah, erosion. They should call it the erosion trail.
Yeah, they should work on something to prevent that. Maybe like you'd think asphalt would do the trick, but I guess not. Yeah,
Maybe just do
there's a
some
new
cement or
sinkhole
something.
there, so that's interesting. I recall seeing the sinkhole last time I was on that trail, but it's well improved. Apparently, it's an expensive proposition, and Northwestern Energy's dumping in about $16,000.
Oh, it's very admirable of them.
Yeah, very, very, very nice of them. So yeah, change is a coming to Great Falls. But sort of the next thing I pointed out is outdoor improvements or non-improvements in Great Falls. There is a, I guess, organization which seeks to make that not a thing. Montanans for Reasonable Land Use is the name of the place. But they are adamantly against, they've been against the slaughterhouse, they're against the cheese packing plant. Apparently that's not a responsible land use, but which is kind of weird for Great Falls, which has been pretty centrist, but they haven't been able to get any new big developments to come in, got to be a decade. What was the last one? Wheat, Montana, and that's going on 15 years.
Okay, understood. But I think that the concern is not that there's industry moving to Great Falls, it's which industry.
Or how to keep the industries out of Great Falls seems to be the current
Just
discussion.
this industry specifically.
Cheese plant? That seems like a responsible industry.
No, the whole food park thing. They want to have like slaughterhouses here and stuff. When you do that, like you have a lot of waste and stuff, and people don't want that into our water tables and stuff because then, before you know it, we have water that's worse water quality than it is in Butte. And it's been said that is had an effect on the Butte area, and
Yeah, I've heard the water
in Great
situation in
Falls,
Butte
like,
is
even the other-
challenged.
last year I think it was, we got a notice from the city of Great Falls. It was like, yeah, so just gotta legally let everybody know we have something in the water that could potentially be cancer causing, but like it's probably cool, so like you're fine. But
Yeah, this is why I get my water
Anyway.
only from the finest mountain streams.
yeah, so like we usually get bottled now as well. So
No, not bottled. From the finest mountain streams, Bryce.
yeah, I'm well aware which streams you're getting it from.
The side of the highway, actually, usually. That water spout outside of Helena on McDonald Pass is what we've been at recently. Shoda water's really good. Also, Paradise, Montana water. I like it. The wife doesn't. Says it made her sick once, so refuses to get back in.
Made her sick?
It's possible. It could have been anything, really.
Well, I guess that's the risk you take with that unregulated stuff.
Well, yeah, it's also free as in freedom. But
But as you see, what does regulation mean? You just legally obligated to tell them, yeah, it might cause a little bit of cancer.
just a little bit. But I don't think that's really the... I mean, yes, there's probably some pollution and byproducts of that. But, you make glue out of the shoes and then you take the byproduct to Taco Bell, I think. But Billings has a meatpacking plant. Laurel does, or at least a slaughterhouse. Laurel has a slaughterhouse. I think it's Billings that has the meatpacking plant, or at least did last I lived there. Maybe it closed and they're looking to relocate to Great Falls. But the job situation, Great Falls is stagnant. You say change is a-coming, and there's one candidate in Great Falls that has been very adamant about Great Falls is going nowhere.
I'm not saying that from my perspective. I'm just saying that like that. That's just from what I understand. That's a consensus among town folk here is that change is coming to Great Falls.
I understand. I understand change was recently sworn into Great Falls.
Sworn in.
Yes, that swearing in happened.
I didn't know there was a ceremony,
There is. They had
a coronation day.
coronation. They swear on the Bible or the Constitution. I don't remember which.
Can you use the? Are you allowed to use the Torah?
I don't think anybody's asked that question before.
Whew, unprecedented.
Yeah, unprecedented. But yes, change is a coming. So yeah, but that change, which is interesting. I think he was, or that change we're talking about, it was sort of opposed to the meatpacking plant and slaughterhouse as well. So
Yeah.
interesting what change we're talking about if you're
And
advocating for the same
I
positions.
can understand that just like looking into what I saw on
Yeah,
slaughterhouses.
I'm sure PETA has a very compelling video on it.
Precisely. So yeah, it looks like it might not be the best. So
Yeah, I get all my facts from Paul McCartney and who's that lady? Pamela Anderson. That's the one. And Jenny McCarthy, just for the vaccines. You need her expert opinion there. But it's
just,
so different
you
for
just
Great
really need to
Falls.
get out there and do your own research. All right.
Your own research on the third page of Google, but Great Falls had the stack. They had the stack in the 80s, and Great Falls was rivaled only by Butte. That's why they have the number 2 license plate. They were number 2, only behind Butte, and industry has gone away since then. I mean, certainly things change. I mean, we're far better off than Butte, I would say, but we're doing our best to shrink. I mean, there's nothing there. If you look at the population numbers, they stayed the same. Where even other places like you wouldn't even think of, rural Montana, are also staying the same. The places that we talk about that are dying, but there's a population should be growing just by birth rates alone. But it's not in Great Falls. There's literally more people leaving than entering.
How come no one's proposed a bigger stack?
That's a good question. The biggest stack.
The biggest stack in the world. We should do it.
Well, we had one. It was the biggest in the world, wasn't it? Or at least in North America.
I believe it was made out of brick, though. So it started to fall apart. And I could be wrong on that, but I believe that was the issue, is that it was a brick stack.
Well, it wasn't made with any safety standards either. It was made to make money until it collapsed on everybody inside.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I didn't know it killed people.
Well, no, it didn't. We purposefully tore it down.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know people died.
Well, no, nobody died, but that was the idea. It was before modern safety expectations, really. So you build a structure, it's functional above all else.
Oh, it was a masonry stack.
Ah, masonry.
Okay. Brick chimney.
Masonry, which is why the Freemasons still have a stranglehold on Great Falls today.
I wonder are they the ones that made this then?
I don't think so. I think the Freemasons is, a Boy Scout club, not an actual functional organization, but
1918. Jeez.
yeah, before there was any safety concerns at all. It was functional.
Yeah, no, this is listen, Johnny, I know that you want to go to first grade, but we got to get the stack done.
Exactly. That as well. So, yeah, Great Falls, which once had the big stack and once had a lot of industry, I don't think this would be the first slaughterhouse in Great Falls, period. I'd be very surprised if it was.
No, I think it was just like the overall size of it, and then
this is one of those mega slaughterhouses, as I understand.
Yeah, exactly. It was going to be like like the state slaughterhouse,
but think of those jobs.
Slaughterhouse of the Northwest. Yeah, just jobs galore. But at the same time, you got to think about the future here and just like where technology is going and stuff. Like we're hitting a lot of automation, and I can see slaughterhouse. There already is a lot of stuff that's got a lot of kill line assembly and stuff. I could see him doing more of that because people just don't want to be in the position to watch these things die and stuff. It's really has an effect on you,
Yeah, it's a hard life. Somebody's got to put the nail through the head, which is literally how they do it, a nail gun. So that job might not be going away till we find that'd be an advanced robot. Aim, shoot, and then verify.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a matter of they got to get the technology hammered out so that it just does that to pigs only.
Yeah, that you don't want to make a killing machine accidentally, certainly.
Yeah, and then, you got problems on your hand.
Yeah. To identify humans. So, yeah, a mega slaughterhouse, the biggest one in Montana. It's still interesting that it sounds like that's not going to happen at this point. I mean, I can't imagine the company that wanted to do that is willing to hang on for this long. They'll, go to Butte like every other company that wants to find a very welcoming environment for
We
their
will
wares.
have to see. It could be that they end up doing it. I
But
don't
really,
know.
what's on that side of town? Wasn't it on the other side of the Walmart towards Lewistown that they were looking to build this? Or is that further back in the dairy area?
Yeah, no, it was on that side.
Yeah, there's nothing going on there. It's a big wheat field right now.
Well, another thing is you have a lot of those. That's where you have the base over there, and then on top of that, you have all of that high value housing over there.
Oh yeah, you can't upset those people. Yeah,
I think that's a lot of the people that were in this group.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. So
Which, if that's the case, though, I can completely see why they wouldn't want to live directly next to a slaughterhouse. I would be furious if I built a very nice house with a beautiful mountain view, and then they're gonna put a slaughterhouse for pigs directly in front of it. Like, are you kidding? Like, no. Like, I would fight that tooth and nail.
move to Ulm. That's a
Horrid.
good option. Ulm or Cascade. I think they would be welcoming for this business.
Yeah,
Other options.
actually, yeah, those would be great places for that. Sun Prairie.
Exactly. It's already a polluted wasteland anyway. So
It's not bad out there. It's nice.
all right. Well, we have already talked about the Little Shell at length here. A quick nod to tribal radio, and maybe our listeners can fill me in. But so far, the only tribal radio station I know of is out of. Geez, I don't even know where's the Eagle out of. I don't even know where they broadcast from.
I thought it was out of like Chinook or Rocky Boy.
Yeah, Rocky Boy, maybe. I know that once you get on the hill outside of Great Falls, you can start picking up. I think it's 88.1, if I remember right.
It's a cool channel. They play like a massive variety of stuff.
Massive variety, and they have news hours, which is interesting. It is native to its core. It's run by the the Chippewa Cree, excuse me. So that would be at a Rocky Boy or that region anyway.
Yeah.
Impressive range there. So the note I have on our thing is that the FCC has allowed the tribal rural governments to use the 25 gig or 2.5 gigahertz band, which is right above Wi-Fi, which previously was reserved for the FAA, if I'm thinking right. I guess the FAA is not doing a whole lot of work on over at Rocky Boy, which is interesting because depending on which tribe you talk to, they are not very fond of this, or they don't accept the regulations or the ability to regulate from the FAA or the FCC. So tribal radio mandated by the FCC, or not mandated, but allowed by the FCC, which is interesting because tribes are confusing. I mean, sovereign, independent, or depend.
So they get pissed that they're told about this rule, and they're like, "Well, screw you. I'll use 2.4 if I want." And they're like, "Well, okay, like if you guys want to."
Yeah, I mean, I know there's not any enforcement there for most things from the federal government. I mean, is the FAA going to go out to Rocky Boy and try to enforce drone regulations or anything? Is the FCC going to really check up on the Eagle to make sure they're within their transmission limits? I don't think so, and they might not be because I can get impressive range out of that station. It's well engineered, I think, but very native if you listen to the content. But they are still disagreements, or still setting a lot of these matters in the court of what exactly the federal government or federal government agencies has the right to regulate on the reservations. And apparently, for now, we've decided that radio is one of it.
I don't know that a lot of that too. I'm sure that the federal government's probably making the argument of like this is a bigger chunk of the pie than what you guys can chew on currently, and like what you need to be chewing on, because like, do you really want to like regulate all of the wireless within the tribal area only? Because like that's a lot.
Well, they currently do. So, or they say they regulate, but like anything on the reservations, I doubt that the federal government has much enforcement on it.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The federal government has the regulation on it.
Yes,
right?
They do.
Yeah. So when there is pushback from the reservation on it, the federal government's argument on it is that you guys wouldn't want this like you wouldn't want to handle this, so we're handling it for you.
Yeah, I guess so. What's the phrase? Sovereign, dependent nation. So they're sovereign. They've got their own rules, which is not enforced within their borders, only enforced to tribal members. Gets confusing. But they're dependent on the nation America, basically. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around these things, and they don't make a whole lot of sense.
Jeez.
Yeah, because as we discussed in the previous cast, if, say, for example, the Chippewa Cree wanted to regulate their own radio waves and challenge the federal government and had the ability to do that, they only have the ability to regulate or to enforce on tribal members. So they don't have real jurisdiction in their land. It's the same thing with police departments. It's why Polson has a sheriff for the white people and a Polson police for the brown people.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, really. But also, it doesn't make any sense.
So, geez. Well, anyways, moving along here.
Which, I know, if you get pulled over outside of Polson by a tribal cop, I tried this once, and I was like, I wasn't really going that fast, and I don't think either of us want to wait for the sheriff. And he's like, "You're right, sir. Have a good day." And told me to drive safe, which I did. You shouldn't speed ever. So,
wow. Jeez. Let's move on here. We already talked about Little Shell, so I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit here. Native activists are working to get Montana reservations fully counted in on the census, correct? And on top of that, that work will lead to us getting another congressional seat. So we will have a tag team matchup of a mystery candidate and Greg the Body, Gianforte.
oh, I don't know. Is that what Bullock is holding out for? That other congressional seat?
Maybe he's out there. Maybe that's what the whole push was just to get it like on the side. He's having them all like push that census on all of them. Everybody. He's like pushing that on all of his interns and stuff.
Yeah, that is interesting. A second seat. Yeah. So I don't know. The census is people don't trust the federal government, and fortunately, the people that I think get the brunt of that are the census people. It is important, and their only duty is to count people, but that doesn't stop people from being crazy, unfortunately. So
it's such a stupid thing to get so pissed off and freaked out about.
Well, it doesn't help that our president suggested that we add. Well, first of all, he suggested they ask questions about how many toilets you have. That's not hyperbole. That's word for word what he said. They ask you how many toilets they have. Blows my mind. And also, he has suggested that they add questions regarding to citizenship and I think just citizenship. So there's now a lot of people that are very skeptical of the census.
The citizenship thing is a huge red flag. So, like, yeah, I can understand that one 100%.
Well, and the toilet questions, which of course, I don't know, has he ever filled out a census, or does he?
I don't see what the toilet one would lead to, like in a dangerous sense, though.
Well, you're right, but it was just him talking ridiculousness as he talks a lot. So yes, he talks a lot. So some of the things he says are bound to be stupid, and some of them I'm sure are smart, okay people. But yeah, the damage has been done. I mean, there is no question of citizenship on the upcoming census. That was a hard no from everybody involved, because we only want to know how many people there are. I don't think they can legally ask you anything else. So
that's all they should need to know.
But the damage has been done, and I imagine that people, or illegal specifically, might be a little skeptical to talk to census folks.
You're going to see a lot of like, yeah, it's just me here, nobody else.
Exactly. So that is a sad time, but for everybody in Montana, who we don't really have the illegal population that we used to, they really cleaned Billings up. They really did, which disappoints me. There was no Mexican parade last year. But moving on, yeah, so it is important you fill out your census info, especially if you're in a reservation or a low populous area. Even more important, I mean, it's important anyway, but if you live somewhere that's pretty rural, it's even more so.
Excellent. So let's see. Congress is walking back marijuana laws.
Or yes, they are. So we're bringing weed back. Back when I was a kid, weed was illegal, and you'd go to jail for that.
Yeah, it's
So step back, Colorado.
I think they're. I don't know. It's weird. They're making a switch from big tobacco to big weed.
Is there a big weed? I don't think there is.
Well, I mean, it's still Marlboro and Salem Winston, I think it is, and
Well, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong here, but aren't weed and cigarettes maybe a complementary product? Like, I don't think that smoking a cigarette necessarily leads you to smoke weed, but going the other way, I know quite a few weed smokers that also smoke.
indeed, it's
Or am I making a correlation that's not there?
there's really not a correlation. Like a lot of people do just go straight for marijuana and not for that. But that is also why there's the big push, though, is because big tobacco probably like, and this is just all skeptical off of the top of my head here right now, but I'm just playing a what if scenario here is that maybe big tobacco is finally the point here where they're like, well, shit, we're killing everybody. These goddamn truth ads that the federal government's allowing, they won't let us use Joe Camel anymore. We're not even allowed to, advertise on the fucking radio. So, like, what are we going to do here? And so they're like, well, we could Hail Mary here. Somebody in the boardroom says, why don't we just throw lobby money at trying to get weed legalized? And like, well, give it a shot. We've got fields. We can grow more stuff. Why not? And so they tried it, and maybe it's panning out here. And you're going to see them start kicking into that. Because then on top of that, yeah, I mean, you do have a crowd that is involved with both. And so probably
Interesting.
You'll see mixtures and stuff. But yeah, no, Philip Morris is definitely going to get its hands in there if it can.
Well, there's money to be made, Bryce.
Of course.
Well, we'll see what the future pans out for that. Of course, Montana has a medical marijuana. It is legal here, but federally it is not. And we have seen dispensaries and production facilities get raided by the feds.
That was something else I actually saw, too, is that it was potential that, I mean, I shouldn't say potential, but there was talk that they could drop it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. But if they do that, that makes it specifically like a medicine at that point. And then you can't have a medical provider in the sense that we do now where, it's just, a guy who's grown in his basement or whatever. You have to go to like Walmart pharmacy and put in your prescription and, they give it to you.
That seems like it would ruin the whole thing.
Yeah. Basically, and at that point, it would kill it as a small business, and it would hand it directly over to people who do you think could buy into such a big market so quickly?
Oh, geez. I mean,
Philip Morris to the rescue. we're not in the business of killing people anymore. We're in the business of saving people now.
There's still money to be made here.
They're stepping out of the cashier's aisle, that middle cashier's aisle where they've been like segregated to just the one lane. They're moving down from there to the pharmacy. They're like, hey, pardon us, we're coming in.
Yeah, getting into pharmaceuticals.
That's all skeptics, but like it's
I see the train of thought there.
There's a push for,
Yeah, so, well, let's get into our last piece of business here. We're talking about license plates.
Okay, so yeah, there's going to be less personalized license plates within the confines of Montana, which, from what I've seen, nobody else in the United States does this. This is specific to us, unless I'm wrong on that and there's somebody else, but I've never, ever seen another license plate do this. So that's really cool that we do that. At the same time, it's gotten really, really out of hand. There's I mean, it's almost to the point where you can upload your own JPEG.
Oh, it should be. I mean, we could have special
I
Montana
wish
Voices podcast license plates.
we should look into that. Fewer personalized plates. I want to see what it takes to get on that docket. Just because you guys have less doesn't mean that you can't accept new. I mean, if you're cutting some slack, maybe you could get in some new blood and cut out some of these old players.
Yeah, there's 266 of them. Some of the complaints I saw were it's difficult to choose, which is ridiculous. You go to the DMV, there's 4 main plates, and if you want a special plate, it's on the wall over there. And fret not, you have an hour to look them over before you get up to the counter.
As you said, well, I mean, that's all contingent on which county you're in. Some places, they don't even have space on the wall for 266 plates. So that lady is going to pressure you to give her the number for the plate that you want because she's got to get to lunch or that DMV is going to close at a certain hour.
I have never seen a DMV person rush, so I don't know if that's true. I mean, they seem to be.
I'm just saying, like in some of these courthouses and such, in some of the smaller counties in Montana, like I've seen, like the second 12 p.m. hits, everybody clears out of there, lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been Laurel specifically. I had gone to register a vehicle when I lived in Laurel, Montana, and I had to wait because the clerk that does the license plate was being the clerk of court in court, and then afterwards she was taking the lunch, so I was told to come back at 2. I was like, huh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. But once I got in, it took me minutes to get in and out. Laurel wasn't a big place at the time.
Yeah, if you need to get anything registered, like definitely try and do it in a smaller town because it's quick.
Are you
a lot of times
allowed to do that if you're not a resident of that small town?
I think so.
Really?
I forget I think it's for like if you need to like renew your driver's license or something. I think they can do it for you still.
Oh,
I could be wrong on that. But
I made my reservation for the Montana Real ID today in May.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, Missoula DMV is backed up till May. Yeah, so get that done if you haven't already. You have till October before they no longer accept it on planes.
Ooh, yeah, I need to get that done.
I think you can do your passport too. So if you have your passport, I guess there's no real reason.
Try and go for the passport.
That costs money. Like $180, I think.
Yeah, but can you put a price on your freedom?
Ah, geez. Well, if I really was free, I wouldn't have to pay to leave the country.
Well, just like the song says, freedom isn't free.
I don't think that's what they were referring to, but yes.
Listen here, Great Falls, change is coming.
That'll be the title of this cast. Change is coming. So go ahead and I think that's all I had, or all we had on the list here. So go ahead and
it's great to be back.
Yes, it is.
I say that with a lot of positivity, though. Change is coming. We're gonna do better. I think the town's gonna see a change for the better here potentially. It's gonna be interesting for sure, and we're gonna try and get back into this casting thing a lot more and a lot more consistent for that matter. So with that, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year, a new year, new us.
Indeed.
Well, thanks for listening to Montana Voices podcast.
Oh yes.
Yeah, lead me through the news there, or the business, because I can't recall. So
all of our casts you can find streaming at our website, montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like to reach out to us for questions, comments, or concerns, if you'd like to be on the cast as a guest, you can hit us on our email, which is going to be montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is going to be @Montana_voices. Our Facebook handle is @Montana Voices Podcast. You can find all